So, you might have seen me post earlier. I was going to talk about what's holding you back. So, before we get to that, of course, I want to make sure I clearly introduce myself. You've been following me, but sometimes, people aren't very clear exactly what I do and who I am. So, of course, I'm your dynamic living coach and success strategist. I help transform dynamic daydreams into reality. What exactly does that mean? That means I help my clients get to the root of what's holding them back. I help them identify it, get to the root of what's been holding them back. I like to call them weeds. Pull up those weeds and then move forward to make that daydream a reality. Now, here's the thing. Typically, we have to figure out what's holding us back. Ideally, most times we can't do that alone, and most times a lot of the things that holds us back, are disguised as excuses. Very legitimate sounding, very common excuses, but nonetheless, they're very much excuses. So, I want to talk about, before I even talk about exactly what usually holds you back, and not to generalize and not to confirm, but in my line of work, I've been doing this for a little over 6 years now, and it's almost always the same two categories, and I'll explain that later. But first, I want you to think about, how long have you been daydreaming? Most times when I ask this question, it's usually more than likely years, not just months, but years. So how long have you been daydreaming? So now I need to ask you, what stopped you from starting those daydreams? Now, it can range from time, money, oh, this happened, this didn't happen, etc. So after that, if you got started, what stopped you? Because there's a reason why you never finished, and there's a reason why you never started. So my goal and my role is to challenge that belief, because again, 9 times out of 10, it's an excuse, or those excuses are under the guise of two things: limiting beliefs and fear. Of course, we know what fears are, and I'll break them down to what they typically are. But limiting beliefs are basically limitations that you place on yourself, whether it came from someone else or when you was a child, something like that. But these are limitations that you've placed on yourself, limits that you believe are true. Period. That's exactly what a limiting belief is. So if you told yourself you can't, you're not good enough, it's too late, you're too old, you're too young, it'll never happen for me, I can't start right now because, well, I don't have enough money just yet. Well, I do have enough money, but it's just not the right time. I mean, I can go on forever, but typically that's how it goes. So I want to ask you, what do you believe has gotten in the way? Of course, if you feel comfortable, chime in and share and let me know what you think has held you back. And if you don't want to share, that's fine. But as I've stated, the limiting beliefs are no joke. These are things that, whether you had noticed it or not, sometimes it came from your family. It came from your parents. It came from some discouraging experiences throughout the years, and you started to believe it. So if someone told you you were never good enough, at some point after you had a couple failures, you started to believe, you know what, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not smart enough. So guess what? You stop. So you've placed that limiting belief. You've held it there. So anytime you want to try something new, anytime you want to live your best life, anytime you want to level up, you decide not to, because you have that belief that you carry with you, and of course it's limiting your life. Actually, I can't really think of any limiting beliefs I had right now, but I'll talk about some fears. So ideally we think of fears, right? I'm just scared, but it's actually a lot of categories. It's a lot of little levels to this thing. I had to learn that, or I discovered that as I've been working with, my clients throughout the years. Ideally, of course, there's fear of failure, but there's the opposite. I discovered this with one of my clients years ago. There's fear of success. You've heard of it before, but it's almost hard to believe, right? There really is fear of success. The biggest one I've seen pretty commonly, and almost, I wouldn't say always, but it shows up a lot, whether you realize it or not, is fear of criticism. You are so afraid of what are people going to say. What are they going to say if they don't like my idea? What are they going to say if I fail? What are they going to say if it doesn't look right to them? Fear of rejection. What if I create this business, or what if I write this book, or what if I start this project and I get rejected? Then what? You know, all those different things. There's fear of, so we said fear of success, fear of criticism, fear of rejection. There's more, I'm sure. I can't think of anything right now, but these fears will paralyze you forever. So, and let me prove my point. So remember when I asked, how long have you been daydreaming? If you said years and you have not made any strides, I'm sorry to say that that limiting belief or that fear may really have paralyzed you, unfortunately. Now, if you started, congratulations. I'm always about small successes and trying and just facing it, of course, but there's a reason why you've stopped as well. So my goal is always to make sure I'm helping people understand there's something holding you back. Yes, sometimes time is a factor. But the thing is, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So some people choose to use those differently than other people. Then of course there's priorities, right? But let me challenge you just a little bit. Yeah, some of us have children, some of us have marriages and all type of stuff going on. Some of us have businesses and we, you know, things get in the way. But how much of a priority is your goal? If it's always on the bottom, guess what? It's going to stay at the bottom. You will never, ever, ever move forward. And I hate to say that, but if it's not your priority, it'll never happen. There will always be an excuse. There will always be a reason for something to get in the way. There will always be a reason, a legitimate sound reason, but there will always be a reason why you'll never move forward. Hey, cuz. There'll always be a reason why you never move forward. And there will always be an excuse that comforts you, right? But here's the thing. Now I want to challenge you to this. So I don't know if you've noticed in some of my posts, I talk about they. I always tell you to be careful who you're listening to, right? Be very careful, because sometimes your limiting beliefs didn't come from yourself. Your limiting beliefs came from the people you are listening to. They are more than likely in your circle. They are more than likely in your family. They matter to you, and that's great. I'm glad you have people in your life that matter, but you better be very, very careful of whose beliefs you're choosing to hold on to. Because if you value their opinion that much to stop your life, that much to never live, I can guarantee you it's gonna. Sorry, I had to guess. I guarantee you'll never move forward, and that's a hard pill to swallow. So for those of you all out there, let me know, am I making sense? Because even though they matter, they can hold you back as well. So for example, sometimes there's people who don't dream, right? You may love them. They may be in your circle, they may be in your family, as I've stated, but they don't believe in big dreams. They don't have a dynamic vision for their life. So when you start sharing your thoughts with them, they might say, I don't know, you sound like you're doing too much, or I don't know, you can never, that'll never happen. You don't have enough money. If you've ever heard that, then it's very likely it's somebody in your circle that's penetrating a little too much. Sometimes it's not because they don't have a dynamic vision for their life. Sometimes it's because, I hate to say it, they don't want to see you grow. This has been my personal and professional experience. If people around you have a problem with seeing you grow, if they have a problem seeing you trying to level up, if they have a problem seeing you change and do something different and have a better life, I can guarantee you that's something you need to pay attention to, because you might have to shift. So at the end of the day, yes, it could be you. It could be your own fears. It could be your own limiting beliefs, but it also could be the people that you have around you, and you valuing their opinion a little too much. And I'm not putting the blame on them. That's your responsibility, right? To move forward or not. That's your responsibility to filter what you listen to. It's your responsibility to go for it or not. But at the end of the day, if their opinion matters, it's going to affect you. So that's something to pay attention to. So considering what I've said, I can talk all night, but I'm trying to make it clear and stay on topic as it relates to what's holding you back. So 9 times out of 10, like I stated, it's almost always some level of limiting beliefs or fear, and then under that is some kind of belief coming from they or their impression, their criticism, their rejection, their laughter. That, and you may be having fear of embarrassment. The thing is, who doesn't fail? That's one thing I want to make sure people understand. I've had to coach my clients through that and say, well, what's the worst that can happen? You don't think I failed? You don't think I've had embarrassing moments? But did I die? No, I'm still here. So at the end of the day, we have to realize, thank you, because we have to realize, it's not so bad. So if fear of failure, fear of their opinions matter that much, you have to go back to the drawing board. Because for me, and I've always coached my clients to this, if you are so afraid to move forward, that means you're accepting the same things in your life that you complain about. If you want to, the thing is, we have those daydreams for a reason. So again, going back to my original question, because it all ties in, how long have you been daydreaming about this? So if you've been daydreaming about this for 2 years, 10 years, and in most cases, in the last 6 years, it's almost always, 3+ years. So if you've been daydreaming about this for all this time, you have that daydream for a reason. And I can almost guarantee you it will never, ever go away. So you mean to tell me that their opinions matter so much more than your daydream happening? You have to be very careful. So I would really encourage you to really slow down and think about that. Does their opinions, does their criticism, does that fear of failure, is it that important to stop you from living the life you keep daydreaming about? If you're living most of your life thinking about another life, daydreaming about another life, it's time, love. It really is. So at the end of the day, you have to face that fear. One of my favorite, there's tons of quotes about fear, right? But my favorite is, fear can be two things: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. That's by Zig Ziglar. And that is so true. You can forget everything and run. I see people do it constantly. And I get it. Fear is really, really scary. But then again, you can kind of say, well, what if I face it? What if I fly instead of fail? So if you face everything and rise, sometimes you realize it wasn't so scary and it wasn't so bad. And you might surprise yourself how fabulous you really are, and you can do it. Of course, pay attention to a lot of successful people. Just do that background. You can tell if most times they'll share their failures. So you don't think they've had fear of facing reality? You don't think they had fear of getting back up? You don't think they had fear in the first place before they failed the first time? But you have to have courage enough to get back up and face it, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. So at the end of the day, think about it, love. What exactly is holding you back? Is it that fear? That fear of criticism, fear of failure, the fear of success, fear of embarrassment, or is it that limiting belief? And hate to say it, but most of us really have it. You feel like you can't do it until you feel like you're not good enough. I've heard so many different limiting beliefs. It's crazy. I've heard, I'm not good enough just yet. I'm not an expert yet. And I'm like, wow, I've seen you demonstrate so many skills, but you're not good enough yet. I've had people that wanted to have 1,001 degrees. I don't know. I don't know what all the things that they felt they needed, but basically the bottom line was their limiting belief was, I'm not good enough. I'm only good enough until I do boom, 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 boom. And I had to challenge them on that, and that's my role as a coach. So at the end of the day, regardless of what it is, you're not good enough, you're too old, you're too young, you have to challenge that, because the alternative is staying in the same spot that you hate. For me, that's a never. That's actually, most people think that, I'm just so smart, or I'm just so fearless. And sometimes I am, but the reason why I've been able to just go for it is because I cannot stand in the same spot that I hate. I have no choice but to go for it. I have no choice but to try. I have no choice, because there is no way on God's green earth I'm going to settle in the same spot that I'm complaining about. I'm not going to stay in the same spot that is making me miserable. I'm not going to stay in the same spot that I'm daydreaming my way out of. So I have to challenge you to do the same. And love, I'm not saying it's easy, and it will never be. But who said life has to be easy? Most of the people that's accomplishing a lot of the things that you're daydreaming about or close to it, they didn't care about easy. They cared about making a life of their daydreams. They cared about making a life easier down the line. So I want to encourage you to do what you have to do right now in order to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? So right now, I live the life that I want to live. I live my life of freedom because I created a business that I wanted to do. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Is it easy right now? Not really. Has it gotten easier? Absolutely. So my challenge to you again is, what is holding you back? Now, I know it's a challenge because you may not be able to do it on your own. That's the gag. You know, that's where I come in at. That's why people hire me. Okay? But if you slow down just a little bit and you're taking heed to what I'm saying, just slow down, process these questions. There are people, and you may be able to do it right now. What is holding you back? What are you afraid of? What's the worst thing that can happen? What limiting beliefs have you told yourself? No, I have to start next year. Why? Why next year? And I've always challenged people who've put it off to next year. And then when next year come, did you start? Well, no, because you get what I'm saying? You're gonna always repeat that same cycle. Now, here's the thing. To be fair, there are some legitimate things that happen in life. Life will always happen. There will never be a perfect time. So yes, some of your dreams you may have to save a little bit. For example, I know people whose daydream is to move to New York or move to LA to, be in the fashion industry or modeling, things of that nature. And so they feel like they don't have enough money to move just yet. So I'll challenge you on this. You say, well, your limiting belief is I have to have money to go. I don't have enough money yet. Exactly. There is no time like the present. Exactly. There will never, ever be a perfect time. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If life has always been perfect, even if it felt like the right time, something got in the way. Something happened that you couldn't prevent. You know what I mean? You couldn't predict. But anyway, so let's say your belief is I can't start my dream yet and go to New York or LA because I don't have enough money yet. Okay, let me challenge that. How much money do you need? More likely than not, people can't answer that. If that's what's been holding you back from starting your dream for 5 years, 2 years, you should be able to tell me how much money you need to go. Right. So let's say you do. Let's say you can't answer that. Well, you know what, coach? I've done the research and LA is expensive. Well, coach, I've done the research and New York is expensive. I feel in order for me to feel comfortable, I would rather have this amount of money for 6 months. I've totaled I need $7,000 to have rent covered for the first 6 months, so I can feel comfortable. Okay, that's great. I'm proud of you for doing your research and making small steps and successes to make your daydream happen. Or you have started. You're getting there. Let me challenge you on this. Are you saving? Well, no. You get what I'm saying? So it's all, I can keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. Hi, Crystal. Deeper and deeper and deeper. If this is something you really, really want, I'm going to always challenge that belief. And lastly, with the same scenario, who told you have to have a whole bunch of money before you get started? Do you get what I'm saying? I understand wanting to feel comfortable. I understand wanting to feel that sense of security. But sometimes going for your dreams, you just got to go. You may not have, you know what I mean? Sometimes you may feel like the rug is being pulled under you. You have to keep going. So let me challenge that last part of the scenario. Now, I get it. I get that you want to feel comfortable and you don't want to starve and all those type of things. But is there any possibility for you to get started because you've re-strategized? Meaning, I'm going to still make the move and go to LA and New York to get started. I'm going to start that. I'm going to move, first of all, which is a big thing. And I'm going to start working on my dream part-time. I've already connected with someone there, right? And I'm going to do volunteer, or I already have a part-time gig So I can go ahead and get started, get familiar with the industry, start getting my feet wet, start, building my platform, meaning you've gotten started. And then the other half, you will work part-time. Do you get what I'm saying? As opposed to keep putting it off, expecting different results every year and doing the same thing. You get what I mean? So if you weren't able to save $5,000 the first year or the first 3 years, okay, we got to try a different strategy. You have to go for it, because I can guarantee you, and I'm not exaggerating by any means, I have encountered people who have been daydreaming about things for 20 plus years. For me, I can't do it. For them, I mean, I kind of understand, but if this is really your dream, I'm going to encourage you to challenge yourself to make that unacceptable. Unacceptable. So at the end of the day, what again is holding you back, and what exactly are you going to do about it? So as I wrap up, again, of course, please share if this makes sense to you, and if you've encountered or discovered any type of fear that you have or limiting belief, please share. One, I couldn't recall a limiting belief I've really had throughout my life, but one thing that did come into my life that surprised me actually was fear of the unknown. I had worked so hard in the first part of my life that I thought I was secure, and I didn't want to change it. I didn't want to play with it. I didn't want to do anything. But guess what? Something about my life was changing, and I was holding on to it for dear life. You know how sometimes your daydream will make room for you by closing every other door. So that's what was happening to me. And so I was starting to get scared, because I didn't know what this new life was supposed to look like. I've worked so hard for the first life. You know what I mean? So I started to have fear of the unknown, and that shocked me. What is this new life going to look like? Well, entrepreneur, I can starve. I like making money. Moving to California, I'm from Chicago. What does that look like? So at the end of the day, that fear of the unknown, it almost got me. And I'm very intentional with that word, almost. It almost got me. But guess what? I am a woman that operates in faith, and that's not to say you have to as well, but I do, I do believe in God. And so that was the backdrop to me kind of fighting that fear of the unknown. And then I had to go back to a place where I had to realize, hey, you face a lot of things in your life that was not easy. Nobody held your hand through it. If you can do that, what on God's green earth would convince you that you can't do this? And once I did that, I said, okay. And I just went for it. And here it is, over 6 years later. Over 6 years later. Not only did I start a new life to live, not only did I face that fear, not only did I get back up, I proved to myself, not only did not only did I prove to myself that fear had no place in my life, that fear was a liar, that fear of the unknown was actually trying to trick me, because yes, the unknown is scary, but actually I had no idea how beautiful the unknown was. So sometimes your best life, not sometimes, I take that back, almost always, your best life is on the other side of fear. So on the other side of the unknown, I've met the most amazing people I'll probably meet in my life. I have the most amazing experiences I know I wouldn't have had if I would have stayed in Chicago at that time. Sometimes you have to just go for it. I never would have known. I like to flex, Nicole. Hey, Nicole, she always tells me you flexing a new muscle. Do you know how many new muscles I've flexed that I didn't know I had the strength to do? I didn't know I had the gift to do by starting a new life to live. I think about this quite often, actually. Imagine if I did not face the fear of the unknown and went for it. My life, I can't even imagine having the same life, to be honest. I probably could cry right now thinking about having the same life I used to have. So I say that to say you have to have the courage to figure out what's holding you back, love, and then do the work. So as I've stated, what I do is I help, my clients get to the root, pull up that weed, and then after we discover what's holding you back, between that fear, a limiting belief, we move forward and we make it happen. So I'm going to encourage you to start doing the work, because you have to do the work. Pull up the weed. If you can't do it, holler at me and start making things happen, because I believe in you. I believe you have that daydream for a reason. And the thing is that most of us don't understand. I'll leave you with this. There really is power in your purpose. I promise you. And most times your daydreams are aligned with your purpose. You just don't realize it. You just know you can't shake it for some reason, but that's why. It's connected to your purpose. You have the daydream for a reason. And so for me, I really would hate for you to never walk in your purpose because of fear. Never walk in your purpose because you've committed to some kind of limit to belief that kept you limited. That, or you've never walked in your purpose because you gave them too much power. Absolutely not. I believe in you. I'm pushing for you. I'm here for you. So keep going. So in the meantime, of course, I have a lot of programs that you all can take advantage of. I actually have a 30-minute crash course. It's broken down into 5 parts, only 5 to 7 minutes. So it keeps your attention span. It's very casual, very laid back. Go to my website. I'll drop the link or whatever. It's a free crash course, and it's called Power Move Secrets. I really do drop a lot of nuggets to kind of shake you up a little bit and start to give you that insight that you need to get started. If you've never purchased my workbook, it's Superwoman Syndrome, The Real Power Behind Power Moves. I intentionally wrote that workbook because of some of the things I've shared, because people will say, well, I can't do it. You can do it because you're smart, or you did it because of this. And so my workbook is designed to help you move forward, but at the same time, I get to share part of my testimony and let you know I've had hardships as well. And of course, I have coaching services in my Power Moves Academy, my new baby. We've already started in January for Power Moves Academy, but the next session starts in March, the very end of March, but my early bird enrollment starts February 22nd, so don't worry, you'll get your chance. But until then, take advantage of the freebies, order the workbook, or just make sure you stay tuned and continue to follow me. I'll do my best to check in with you guys and give you as many nuggets as possible. So before I go, let me know if you have any questions, all that good stuff. Again, I'm from Chicago, so I talk a little fast. I'm sorry. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, guys, I'm going to drop the link for the crash course as well as the workbook. But stay encouraged, stay empowered. Please, please, please make sure you're doing the work to transform your dynamic daydream into reality. Bye.